Hey pilots, this is Pete with BananaHobby.com. This is your review and a few tutorials about the Super Skysurfer that we carry here at Banana Hobby. This beautiful Skysurfer comes in at near 100 inches in wingspan. I believe it is 95 inches in total wingspan, and if you haven't seen the video that we shot over Huntington Beach, over Surf City, California, with this Super Skysurfer, please, I urge you to pop onto our YouTube channel and take a look. We actually have just a ton of different applications that can apply to this beautiful Super Skysurfer, and I wanted to talk about a few of them today and a few modifications and a few things that you all out there actually brought to my attention about this actual aircraft here. First of all, we were able to stick a whole bunch of GoPros all over this Super Skysurfer and get some really beautiful footage. This is going to be a fun airplane if you're going to fly FPV or just have fun with all the smaller cameras that we have here today, and just to get aerial photography and aerial photos. Just a very, very stable platform. Okay, so now let's go ahead and talk about what you get. Everything is laid out here on this table, on my workbench here, of what you get with a Super Skysurfer. First of all, the reason why it comes to you in all white is we left it as a blank canvas. A lot of people choose to modify this airplane and put their own colors on it, own covering schemes and things like that, because this is EPO foam construction and it is safe with a lot of acrylic types of spray paints and super glue as well. So we left that as a blank canvas. However, included are the classic Skysurfer markings, and these are all pre-cut, and they are just beautiful, clear, and shiny peel and stick. So it's very low, as far as project-wise, it's just low time on here. You can just peel and stick if you choose to use the included decal sheet. And then this is the BlitzRCWorks decals that also will go on here if you choose to actually do that. If you don't, you can put checkerboards, diamonds, or whatever you want on here and actually just use it as a blank canvas and make it all your own. That's one of the good things about this beautiful Super Skysurfer. 95 inches in wingspan. She's absolutely huge. Now let's go ahead, and I want to take this moment and address some of the issues that you all out there brought to me, and I heard about certain issues and certain things about this Super Skysurfer. First of all, I hear that a lot of you saying that this is for this size of an airplane, she's underpowered. The stock power plant is calling for a 3300 size 3-cell pack, and that's going to be staying in that configuration. A couple of modification capabilities that I could talk to you about is, first of all, this propeller size, the stock size is 8x7. You can actually vary in propeller size a little bit, variance up or down, depending on what you like to do to get a little bit more power out of it. I've found that I've been using an 8x6 APC propeller, and you don't actually have to get it in the pusher version, because we actually engineer these to rotate counterclockwise just like a regular propeller, and it's mounted face forward with the leading edge, the positive leading edge going into the wind, so it's still making the same amount of power, and you don't have to get an actual pusher prop, because pusher props are kind of hard to come by. So this is, if you get a different propeller, I would suggest an 8x6 APC E propeller. Okay, and that should give you a little bit more power. And on the stock system, when you get this out of the box, a good thing to do is always get yourself a prop balancer. I have myself a Dubro magnetic prop balancer, and you do want to balance these propellers. Often they come off balance, and then it sounds like a motorbike in the air because she's off balance. So go ahead and put this in a prop balancer, and if it's out of balance, if one side's heavier than the other, just sand it on the inside of the propeller lightly and then balance it again before you actually mount this onto your motor. That's number one for modifications as far as what I wanted to bring to you. And number two, as far as modification wise, a couple of, it's an issue that was brought to my attention. This wing rod, this is the main wing spar that's going to be inserted into this this Super Skysurfer. I have a note here for you, for everybody that's watching this build as well, light build. What you want to do is get a measuring tape, measure it out, okay, And then find the center point of this wing spar here and mark it down with a white marker, whiteout or something like that, some kind of, something you can identify that is the center of this wing rod. What's happening is this. When you insert this main wing spar into the composite receiver there that's at the root of the wing here, and you start pressing in there, it's supposed to stop towards where it needs to stop. Sometimes, because of how tight this wing rod is inside this wing tube, you don't really feel where it needs to stop, and you keep pressing it, and then you go beyond the point where it needs to stop. And what happens there is you'll keep pressing it, you'll keep pressing it, keep pressing it, and I'm going to actually take this out because it already stopped there, and I could kind of feel where it stopped. And what happens is this, and it's happened to a few of you out there, and I apologize about that. So when you insert this, if you don't stop at the center point, because the center point where the wing joint actually meets each other is going to be the exact center point. The wings will actually slide together. If you don't mark it and you keep going and you end up with, let's say, all of that in one wing and then you have this much in the other wing, it's going to cause extremely bad center of gravity issues. And I'm not talking about forward and backwards, I'm talking side to side. That's what I wanted to address. Make sure you mark the center here, and when you insert this into one side, make sure it stops at that line where you mark that is the center of this wing rod. And here is a modification tip for you too. This wing rod right here, I'm even having a hard time trying to figure out what exact material it's made out of. I believe it's a composite blend of some sort, but however, it weighs a lot. It is extremely heavy. It's strong, but it's heavy, and it's a stock wing rod. Doesn't have a problem flying with it. Again, this is the Super Skysurfer. This is not your, pylon racer where you're going to actually, fly this thing at tremendous high rates of speed. But if you wanted to modify this, I would pop into your local hobby shop and find the diameter of this wing tube here and get a hollow carbon or graphite wing tube. That's going to be a lot lighter, and you won't have that CG issue. It's going to be a lot lighter than this. This is pretty heavy. And I have a feeling, when we engineer this is also geared towards the center of gravity a little bit. And if you go to the modification and get a hollow composite wing tube here, cut it to this length, and you can actually go up in size and your battery. You can go to a 3700, a 4000 size. When we shot the video for you over Huntington Beach, I used the various batteries in there. I've used up to like a 4500 in there, and it fits perfectly. This fuselage has a ton of space for what you want to do. So it's really geared towards if you want to modify it. If you're flying the stock out of the box, by all means, mark the center of this wing spar. Mark it when you enter it into one side of the main wing. Make sure it stops there. Don't go any farther. And once it stops there, keep an eye on it while you're inserting it into the other wing, because you could be pushing it and it could be you could actually start shoving this wing rod farther down, deeper into this wing. So you want to keep an eye on that center point and make sure it doesn't move while you're actually inserting the other wing. So that's your tip number 2 with this Super Skysurfer here. And I've had a couple of people actually, had really weight issues because they had the wing spar way too far into one wing. And when you take off, if it's too far into the left wing, she's going to want to dip to the left because it's so much heavier on the left wing. So make sure you mark that once again. And the smaller rod that is included, which is also, I still think this is a composite material. It's just a little bit heavier. This is just a smaller wing rod, and this is just a guide rod for the front. So this can be replaced as well if you choose to modify that. But however, again, this isn't a hot rod, so you don't really need to. But if it's a choice, you can. And the next thing I wanted to address is that you guys have had problems with you're afraid that the wings are just pressed into the fuselage and that are going to come apart. I flew the Huntington Beach video for you with no tape on the wings, nothing like that, because if you look at the wing root there, it's almost like a puzzle. It's interlocking. So when you press this together, it's not going to pull back out, and especially given it's it's the wing root area, and if this was some kind of a high performance 3D airplane, there would be some kind of a locking mechanism. I know a lot of you want to be 100% safe with your airplanes, and you want some kind of a locking mechanism. At this point, I have not found any issues with this interlocking mechanism, and it's still removable. But if you wanted to be more rest assured, your only choice right now is to use tape. And what I found to work the best on the other gliders that I've actually been flying is 3M tape. If you go to the medical supply store, 3M actually sells a tape called Blenderm, and you can get it at the medical supply store, and you can get it at your local hobby shop as well. Dubro will have bags of this stuff. It's kind of wide, and it's a softer feeling material, but she's very sticky, and you just put a couple of pieces underneath or on top of your choice, and after you slide it together, if that makes you feel any more secure about it. But I have not had any issues with the wings popping apart, and I've even flown it inverted and have done rolls and things like that. So that's the other thing that I wanted to address, because it's once you release a product and it hits the market, no matter what it is, it could be a cell phone, it could be an RC airplane, it could be a car. There's always going to be good feedback and there's going to be bad feedback, but none of it is bad feedback to me, to us here at Banana Hobby. I want to hear what you guys have to say, you guys and gals out there have to say, and those areas that you address to me, I'm addressing back towards you, saying that I understand, and here are some things that could possibly fix your experience with this beautiful Super Skysurfer. So with that, this build with this is extremely easy. I think the other thing that was told to me that I heard over Facebook, I think it was the fact that this airplane kit doesn't come with glue. And we actually do that on purpose, because once you get into this size of an airplane kit, we really want you to feel comfortable with what glue you would like to use. The included rubber cement with the smaller Skysurfer, granted it will work on here. However, with such a big lighter, I would still use 2-part 5-minute epoxy, or I would use 10-minute epoxy, something along that line there, so that you have your rest assurance that nothing's going to fall off in the air and things like that. That's why we didn't include the glue. If you have experience with the smaller Skysurfer or with any of our 4-channel airplanes, this is something that you could definitely get into and just have a lot of fun with it. It carries quite a bit of payload, and she's just beautiful. She's huge. And in a later episode here, once we get this completely done up for you, I'll see if I can come up with a modification to go to a higher LiPo size, maybe 4-cell, and maybe see what kind of electronics we need to actually modify to go to that level there. I don't know that the stock system will handle it. I haven't tried it. With that, I haven't had a need to try it. With 3-cell, I've had no issues with her whatsoever. She was just, people were saying she's a little bit slow, which she is. She's a little bit slow, but again, the propeller. Choose the right propeller. Get yourself an APC 8x6E, and she should produce more power and give you a little bit better performance too. Okay, so the build portion, there's pretty much the clevises and stuff that's all marked on bags here, little baggies. It'll tell you which one's for the rudder, which ones are for the aileron and things like that. And we're going to go ahead and just start building this, and we'll go ahead and finish this up. So we'll meet you back over here. All right, so now we are at the portion where we are going to install the control surface horns here. And you'll take note, we have these little horns here, just like that. And we're going to install the aileron ones. I've already gone ahead and installed one onto my flap. Remember to grab the bag that actually that'll tell you on here, push rods for flaps and then push rods for ailerons. They're a little bit different in lengths, so you want to keep those separated. And we're going to put the control backing on the other side here. Remember the side that's straight up on the surface control horn here with the holes will actually face the leading edge and face the servo here. Okay, we're going to go ahead and grab our screws here. This is another portion that I know some of you was asking about. There are 4 holes on the surface control horn, and the manufacturer did not provide enough screws to cover the 4 holes. And, you know, part of me wants to say, hey, you know, if there's 4 holes on there, we should be using 4 screws. However, to keep the cost of this airplane down and, you know, to make it still a really nice product, sometimes these don't line up, so we got to just kind of wiggle this around. The manufacturer would like for you to use 2 screws per control horn. So we are going to run these diagonal. Okay, there we go. So now we have the horn mounted onto the aileron. Tighten these down just to where you can see that it's starting to pull down into the foam a little bit, and not much tighter than that, because it will pull through the foam if you actually start tightening too much. So right now, go ahead and install your surface control horns to the remaining other wing, to the flaps, and to the ailerons, and we'll see you back here. At this point, you should have your ailerons and your flaps, all of their control surface horns installed. And while I was doing this, I actually have a tip for you, because while I was building this, I just noticed something here. The manufacturer would like for you to use 2 screws per surface control horn. However, in each bag for your ailerons and for your flaps and for your tail section, they give you an extra couple of screws per bag. Okay, so now what I've done here, I have to count the ones in the rudder bag. I didn't count those yet. But for the flaps and the ailerons, they actually utilize the same screws. They're the same length. So if I were to pick a control surface that was, you know, that I wanted to have 4 screws in, I would say I would like it to be in my ailerons. So there are 4 leftover screws after you use both these bags of screws for these 4 control surfaces, and for the 4 extra screws, they go into the 2 remaining holes for each aileron. So now I have 4 screws per aileron. Once you have it in and they are mounted ready to go ahead and grab the aileron and give it a couple of movements up and down, not too crazy amounts of throw there, just enough to loosen the EPO hinge here. Okay, now let's go ahead and move into the section where we are going to mount these onto the tail section here. And I have a couple of pointers for you there as well. So let's see here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. They give you 4 screws here for the tail section. So what I would like to do when you think about your tail section, which one is more valuable, your rudder or your elevator? I would say the elevator is. So in this case, we will go ahead and put 2 of these screws into the rudder, and then the remaining 4, we will actually put it into use on the elevator. So let's go ahead and start with our elevator. We're going to go ahead and move it a few times here, loosen it up a little bit, okay? And sometimes you can see these holes still have residual foam left in them. Just grab it, you know, with your finger and get it out of there, or with a little hobby knife. Or something sharp, anything would work. This one has some foam in there, so we just pop that out. Okay. Okay, before we do that, let's go ahead and talk about the control surface horns. These now are called, this was what I was talking about earlier, they're called easy connectors. Okay, what we do with the easy connectors is basically, if it comes apart on you, you have the little bronze connector with the little Phillips head screw, and we are going to use the second from the top hole. So if you count from the bottom, it's 1, 2, 3. If you count from the top down, it's the second hole. This one is going to be going on the elevator, and we need it to be facing to the left here. I need to back the camera out. Okay, so this needs to be facing this way. We're going to be going this way here. So it's probably easier if I just do it like this. We're going to insert this into the second hole. We're just going to pop it in there, and I'm going to actually have you take note that that was just a test fit. I'll get it back out. If yours comes with the nut and the washer apart, go ahead and just now grab your washer. We'll go to the control surface horn here, and it's going to go to this side here. So we need to go ahead and grab our washer. And on the washer, I know this is extremely hard to see here. there's one side that's really shiny and smooth, and then the other side actually looks like it has a little bit of edginess to it. I don't know if that camera can see it. Okay, we want the edginess side to be going on towards the brass connector, and the smooth side towards the plastic here. So again, this goes this way, so we need to install it this way. So it goes, if you're looking at the horn like this, this is the side it goes on there. Okay, at this point here, you have a little itty bitty nut. That nut will go on there, and you're going to be tightening this with a pair of pliers or something like that, and then feeling this right here. And see how that feels, okay? And here's another pointer. At this time here, if you have Loctite, I will put just a tiny drop of Loctite. You can't put too much because if you get it inside the area where it needs to rotate, it'd be really stiff there. So we don't want to do that, okay? I like this route with the Loctite, but there's another method that I will tell you about. So I'm going to right now just put a tiny bit of Loctite on there. Move that around with your finger a little bit. It doesn't have to be a whole lot. It just needs to hold that nut into place. And we'll actually go ahead and put the nut on there. We'll just tighten her down. Okay, this portion is very important. If you tighten her too much, it's going to be like this. And it's going to have too much pressure on here. But if you tighten it too little, it's going to have a lot of slop in it. So we want to find a happy medium. So we'll just do that, and kind of you can see that it kind of will just drop like that. So that's pretty good. We'll kind of a little bit more, right about there. That's a good area there. Okay, here's the tip I have for you. There's several things you can do to keep this nut on there. One is to use the Loctite like I just did right there. And two is to have some super glue like this. You can actually not put anything on the threads. Just install that nut itself until you get it to where you want it to be. And then all you're going to do is get your super glue, if it'll open. Here we go. I don't suggest this part because super glue sometimes comes out really fast. And when it does, what you're going to do is you're going to saturate that whole area, and your linkage is going to basically be stuck. Okay, there's another way too, is another tip. Before you decide to use super glue, put a drop of household oil into the opposite side there to keep it from actually, if you do get glue in there, it may, it'll keep it away from actually sticking. But all you're going to do here is you're just going to hold it like this. Don't hold it like this because you're going to get a lot of glue on there. Okay, second camera like that, and you're going to grab your super glue and just put just when you see the super glue coming out of the tip of the bottle here, just cover the threads and the nut just a little bit, just a tiny drop there, and then leave it there. And then when you have it there and it's ready, make sure it's not stuck here, and then go ahead and let this glue dry sitting face down. So we're going to go ahead and put this on a little bag here and let her dry face down. But be careful because it might stick to the bag. So go ahead and keep an eye on it and move it from time to time. Okay, so go ahead. Now we're going to go ahead and install this portion here to the rudder. Okay, for the rudder, it's going to be looking like this, and we want the clevis. I think I'm going to just go ahead and put it on the top side here. So we're going to choose hole number 2 once again, and this time I'm going to just go ahead and use the method for the super glue. So now I didn't put any Loctite on there. I'm just going to go ahead and tighten this nut down. Until it's just about, okay, that's a little bit too much, a little less. And let's see here. Right about there. I'm happy with that. Right there. I'm happy with that right there. So now I'm going to go ahead and get my super glue once more. And I'm just going to just put a tiny bit on the tip right there. There we go. And you want to make sure it doesn't go into this threaded area and then all the way down into where it needs to rotate. There we go. That's pretty good. So we're going to set that down. Now it's ready to go. And give it a couple of minutes for the super glue to set up a little bit. And go ahead and install your control surface horn here to surface itself, the same way we did with the ailerons and the elevators. And we'll move on to the next step here. At this time, you should have all of your control surface horns all mounted to your control surfaces, and this your Super Skysurfer should be just about ready for full assembly. However, just another tip here, this will make things a lot easier if you are going to use the stock supplied decals. At this time, if you are going to use the stock decals and not do your own painting or anything like that, it is a lot easier to start applying the decals. If you get the whole thing put together, especially the decals that are going to be going on the main fuselage, they're going to be a little bit more difficult to apply. So right now, go ahead and apply your decals, and I'll meet you back over here. Let me go ahead and just show you real quick how easy the decals go on. Move the main wing here. Move that out of the way. Okay, let's just take the tail section here, and let me find, here we go. At this time, you should have all your control surface horns mounted to the control surfaces, and your Super Skysurfer should be just about ready to go. However, what you want to do right now is, before you have the entire Super Skysurfer assembled and then decide that you wanted to go ahead and apply decals, you really want to do this at this point in time, because the airplane is still in the various pieces, and it's a lot easier to flip this thing, you know, to be able to flip one surface and things and the fuselage to actually stick the stock provided decals for you right now. So I will just go ahead and grab one control surface here, and we will go ahead and apply that. And we're going to go ahead and refer to the manual and take a look and see exactly what the decals look like, and you can actually kind of pick and tell too from the manual itself. You can see what the decal, which one is shaped like what and should be going where. Yeah, these right here are going to be for your vertical stabilizer here. There's a lot of plastic on there. You know, for those of you that want to, you could possibly cut a little bit of that away. But let's go ahead and, I just wanted to show you how easy this is. Go ahead and grab that. Make sure your hands are clean. I don't think these are transfer decals, but then again, I'm not sure. So let's find out here. Let's go ahead and position this one right about there. Okay, we're going to start from the bottom here and press. Try not to get it all the way down yet, like what I just did there. You want to kind of press as you go here, and what that will do is it will actually go ahead and leave it without bubbles here. Okay, so now that is completely on there. Okay, they are transfer decals. Okay, that's what I thought they were, but I wasn't 100% sure. So that's why this portion here is extremely important. These are transfer decals, so you don't actually want this big flappy clear portion on there. Once you get it to this point here, go ahead and zoom this in here. Once you get it to this point here, what you want to do is make sure all the edges, I haven't used any kind of cleanser or anything like that because I don't think it's needed. Just press real good, make sure all the edges are pressed down. Okay, if any of you know what transfer decals are, basically there's a backing to this. So we're going to grab the clear portion and we're going to pull it real flat here, and then pull back at the same time, and you'll see that the red portion starts coming out, and it's actually, see how it's not sticking very well? But that's okay, because you can just go ahead and grab your finger. Once you have it pretty much stuck down there, you can just start peeling back like that. A good indication, or a good, okay, we're at the silver. Okay, the silver came right off. If any of you have applied a protective cover to your cell phone, it's the same thing. You have the top side and the back side. As you can see, the black came off without a hitch there, with no problems. Wow, this decal is beautiful. Okay, so just go ahead and pull all the way down. And there it is. This portion is the pre-mask, and you don't need that. And that is your perfectly applied decal to your vertical stabilizer here. Okay, so go ahead and at this time, if you're going to do your decals, do it now, and we'll meet you back over here. All right, by this time, you should have all your decals applied onto your Super Skysurfer. The decals were actually extremely easy to apply. They are transfer decals, so they go on extremely nice and flat. And then if you have any air bubbles in there, you can actually just go ahead and push it right on out. And as you can see, I did something a little bit different. I did my Skysurfer on the horizontal stabilizer at an angle just to be a little bit different. But the decals were just a joy to apply. They're beautiful when you're putting them on there. They go on so clear and flat. And then when you remove that pre-mask layer, it's just a beautiful decal. I mean, take a look at the checkers here. They're individual checkers. There's no backing to this. So that's what makes these decals look like they're just like in the paint by themselves. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous setup there. What we're going to do now is we are going to glue on the tail section. And my choice of glue here will be epoxy. I don't plan on this airplane, you know, like crashing or anything like that. I would want some strength in the tail section. And with such a big airplane and such low cost, if something was to happen, I probably would just get a new kit. Okay, we want to make sure, and right now we want it to double check, make sure the fitment is good here. Okay, the push rod for the, make sure that fits good there. There we go. The push rod will be on top of the horizontal stabilizer, so this fits good, and the vertical stabilizer right here, oops, sorry, will be glued on at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead now and use the backing of this the decal sheet, and I'm going to mix up some 5-minute epoxy here. If you're not super familiar with epoxy, I probably wouldn't suggest using 5-minute. I would say to go ahead and use at least 10 minutes to give yourself a little bit of working time here. You know, this is the only spot that I know of on this entire airplane which I think we need to glue here. Okay, I have this epoxy is in 2 equal dollops here. Make sure that part A and part B, the hardener, are exactly the same amounts, or at least as close as you can get it to. If you have the ratio completely off, it won't actually set right and wouldn't harden. So let's go ahead and mix this. Mix it very well here. I always tend to mix my epoxy more than I have to, just because I like to get the mixture extremely mixed well, so I know that it's going to cure with 100% strength here. A lot of people mix epoxy in little mixing cups. That works as well. You know, my dad raised me building airplanes, and this is the way I've always been taught how to do it, and it's been working great. All right, so let's go ahead and grab our tail section here, and you can see the actual flat portion here where you need to apply the glue. So we're going to do that now. I'm going to try to do the vertical stabilizer at the same time here with the same glue amount. So it's kind of pushing it when you think about it with 5-minute epoxy, but I think we can do it here. We're just going to get all the flat areas there. Have a work cloth ready because you will have residual epoxy oozing out. And you know, actually, I say it a lot in the other videos as well that more glue sometimes is always better than not enough. And especially we're talking about your horizontal stabilizer. Without this, your airplane is not going to fly. Well, at least this type of an airplane. Okay, I'm going to call that pretty good there. I'm going to go ahead and make sure the rudder push rod is above the horizontal. I'm going to insert that, kind of squiggle it around, let it seat, press down, and I do have epoxy coming out. So I will grab my little work cloth real quick here and just give it a wipe. I don't have too much oozing out. There we go. Perfect. there's still some epoxy left on the outside. Like, you know, if you were a super perfectionist like I am, you'd probably get some denatured alcohol or something and go ahead and remove that. However, I think it's on the bottom side. You can't see it, and we want to keep it with a lot of strength, so we're going to actually leave that. I don't mind that at all. Okay, with this portion, we're going to go ahead and jump right into trying to get this done. We're going to apply the epoxy to the bottom of the vertical and all the areas where it's nice and flat here. I will not use too much on this portion on the outside. I'll tell you why. Like this portion here, I'll just put a little bit and then actually really spread it out very thinly, because once you press it in there, you're going to have it come out all over the place. So we will just put a little bit on the bottom side. There we go, just like that, just a thin layer. And we will try our luck and see if we have anything oozing out. Make sure that the elevator push rod is out of the way so you don't get any glue on that. Okay, the front side right here goes down first, and then we'll press it straight back. Just like that. And it is a perfect fit. Okay, I got a little bit of glue on my hand there. I can feel it. There we go, get that off. Okay, so now this part is very important. You want to make sure that the tail section is nice and square, with the horizontal is nice and square with the fuselage here. Got a little bit of glue coming out from there. I'm going to go ahead and wipe that real quick. There you go. A little bit right there. And we're looking good. Now what I will do is I will get the whole entire aircraft and I will look at her from the nose down. Just like that, and make sure that everything is vertical, that needs to be vertical, and horizontal is parallel with the fuselage. This portion you can actually do with, you know, have somebody help you hang on to it. If you back off a little bit, you can actually see it a little bit more clear. Okay. There we go. Everything is everything mounted extremely flat, so it doesn't take any movement or touching at all. It's just extremely straight here. Yeah, this is great. It's just perfect here. All right. We're going to talk about the propeller a little bit real quick here while that is drying up. The propeller, as I was saying in the beginning, we didn't engineer this airplane to run on a pusher prop. If you reverse the motor and you found a really nice pusher prop, you choose to do that if you wanted to. But we just engineered this airplane to run on a regular counterclockwise propeller, and it's just mounted. You know, if you were to mount, like say, if you were on a regular airplane, you would be mounting it this way. There's an actual airfoil on the top side. On the bottom side, it's kind of flat. Just take note about that. So you want the rounded airfoil side to be facing towards the nose of the airplane. So it's going to be mounted like that. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and take the prop nut off and take a look. Okay. It has 2 washers on there. I'm not sure exactly why there's 2 spacers on there, but I'm going to say that it goes, I'm going to leave it like that. There we go. If you can, by all means, go ahead and balance these propellers there. So let's go like that. And then we're going to go ahead and just tighten this back down. There's a hole in the prop nut. All you do now is you grab a pair of screwdriver, or like a small screwdriver or something with the metal shaft, and just go ahead and put it in here, and just go ahead and tighten her down. Okay, that's pretty good there. All right, I want to bring something to your attention really quick here, that this is extremely important with people that are getting into airplanes. I'm sure you probably heard me say this before, but I'm going to show you something right now. I'm holding this airframe here completely vertical. I think I'll zoom in just a bit. There we go. And I want you to take note that this motor is crooked. It is actually at about I want to say about a 10 to 12 degree right here with the direction I'm staring at it. It's pointing curved to the right when I'm looking at it from the backside. And if you look at it like this, it's pretty straight, but mostly it's this angle here. When you receive this Super Skysurfer or the Skysurfer or anything with a pusher prop or with a propeller on it, keep in mind this right here, that's completely normal. This is mounted that way to counter what's called right thrust. Oh, it's countering the torque of the propeller. If it's not mounted like this, your airplane's not going to fly straight. It's not going to track straight. So this angle here, at that about 10 to 12 degree angle there, is called right thrust. And this is actually built into the aircraft. So do not take that out. I get a ton of calls and people asking me, actually had airplanes come back because they said their motors are mounted crooked. They're not supposed to be dead straight on. There has to be an angle in it because the propeller actually has torque. And if you don't put that angle in it to counter that torque, your airplane's never going to fly right. So again, this is completely normal. So don't be alarmed if you see that your motor is actually like crooked off to one side here. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and back the camera off here and talk to you a little bit about the Super Skysurfer. Thank you all for joining me for today's build review and slight tutorial and where we address the things that you guys and gals out there had mentioned about the Super Skysurfer. The build went together without a hitch, extremely easy. The decals were great to put on. I want to wrap it up here with just a couple of key notes, and then we're going to go ahead and put this thing together and go out and fly her. One thing, you have included this clear portion here with the channels in it. What this is, in the middle, you'll see two lines. You want to cut this in half and then kind of square it off a little bit or round it off a little bit. And what these are your servo covers here for your flap and for your ailerons. And what that is for is when you land in thick grass or something or anything like that, if you don't catch this, it makes it more aerodynamic and it doesn't strip the servo. However, I have not installed it on mine at all, just given that this is up so high. But you do want to install the one for the aileron to keep it off the grass if you are doing grass landings and if you're on like heavy gravel or anything like that. But it's easy to install. Go ahead and cut it. Use some Elmer's white glue if you wanted to, or tape it down and just cover up those push rods. Keep them away from swiping anything on the landing. And then other than that, one thing I wanted to further address was that I've heard that you guys and gals have been saying that the push rods are too soft and they're too thin to be able to control these surfaces. I do find truth in that, and there is a modification for that. However, I just don't see needing super amounts of throw in this airplane to where we have to really modify this. But the modification is, if you choose to, you can go to your local hobby shop, buy some thin carbon tubes, carbon or Kevlar or composite tubes, and actually just sleeve it over and then up to this area here, and it'll actually make this portion here a lot stronger. But you're going to need two sizes if you want to actually cover the plastic push rod housing as well. That's probably the way to go if you wanted to strengthen this. However, I've been flying this bone stock out of the box, stock meaning nothing has been changed, with these existing push rods, and I haven't had any issues with it. However, to each your own, and if you feel that that's something you do want to modify, by all means, go ahead and do that. Here right now, we're pretty much done. All you have to do is, put on your push rods and your clevises, your push rod clevises, and install your radio system. And the radio system in here, I would suggest if you get something from us, it'll be fine. If you don't, I suggest you not use any park flyer size receivers. It's such a big airplane, you're going to want to fly it farther, higher, things like that. And I would suggest if you're using Spectrum or JR to use something with an external satellite receiver. And if you're using Futaba Fast, all the receivers are great. Go ahead and just pick something in the 6-channel category or full range 4-channel category, and that'll suffice. This is straight 4 channels. Your ailerons, you need a 6-channel, because you do need a 5th channel for the flaps. So you have your rudder, elevator, throttle, ailerons, and then flaps. And the flaps right here are extremely effective. They slow this thing down like really, really well. Okay, it's been a long and extensive build, and we talked about some issues here. Please, by all means, if you have any other questions for me in regards to the Super Skysurfer or anything else, our YouTube channel is interactive. I try to talk to y'all all the time, and I have Ask Pete webisodes. by all means, if you have anything about the Skysurfer you would like to address, go ahead and post it underneath right here, and I'll go ahead and try to answer your questions on one of the webisodes, or actually just reply on that thread itself. Again, my name is Pete. Thank you all always for your support, and to bring you the completed Skysurfer, there's one right behind me here, 95 inches of wingspan in all her glory, and she flies amazing. One of my favorite airplanes. Skysurfer has been tried and true, and this is just a big, huge, blown-up version of it. Well, hope you all enjoyed this build review and found this actually to have some kind of advantage to what you're thinking about when you're purchasing the Skysurfer and the build. Thank you for checking this out. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and subscribe on YouTube. My name is Pete. We'll see you next time.